are live.
Hi guys.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. I'm John,
And I'm Hayley.
and this is the Speed Mooting Partners in Crime podcast, episode number 80.
Ooh, feels like a big milestone.
It's a big milestone, it's a massive one. That means we've been recording for how many weeks, Hayley?
79 weeks.
79 weeks. And this is also a massive, well, I was going to say milestone episode, but just a massive episode anyway, because we're sort of batch recording. So we mentioned that last week. So we're doing three in one for you. So this was recorded a week or so ago. And that's because today is a massive day, because you are listening to this on Friday, the 10th of October. And what are we doing right now, Hayley?
It depends when they're listening, I guess. But this is our wedding day.
Yeah. So as you listen to this episode on Friday the 10th, we're getting married as you listen.
If you're listening to it and it's after 3 p.m, we will be man and wife.
Wow, yeah. Crazy that, isn't it?
It's so crazy.
Crazy.
Wow.
So, yeah.
If you're listening to it prior, we might be in the process of getting married.
Yeah. Could be on the way to the church. Could be in the church. Could be listening to hymns. Could be listening... It was funny, wasn't it?
Go on, what are you going to say?
We were... I don't know whether we can give this away, but we were watching Wedding Crashers the other day, weren't we? And tell me if I'm not allowed to say this.
I don't know
when
what
you
you're going
cut
to
me off.
say.
It's nothing rude or bad. And they go... So Wedding Crashers, if you've not seen it, it's Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, and they crash weddings. So they sit there in the church, watch the ceremony. Anyway, the two of them are watching a ceremony, and they have a bet against each other as to what the first reading's going to be.
Oh. Yeah,
No,
go on. You can say. You can do
Oh, okay, yeah. So they bet, and one of them goes, this is going to be a letter from St. Paul to the Corinthians, his first letter to the Corinthians. And we had to laugh because obviously we're taking an excerpt of that letter, and literally they used the exact part, didn't they?
I don't want you to say obviously. Like, obviously, that's our reading.
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. Sorry, if I did say obviously, the reason being, so in the run up to the wedding, so I the only sacrament I had not done was my confirmation, so I wanted to make sure I had them all. You don't need it, but I wanted to make sure I had all my sacraments up to date before the wedding. Long story why I didn't do my confirmation, but anyway, I made sure I got my confirmation done. And you converted, didn't you, from the Anglican Church to Catholicism?
Yep.
So we went through classes together to do that, and then we kind of did all our sacraments on the same day. And so that meant that we went to classes every single week with Father Terence. And it must have been during that period in the year when, we were getting regular readings during Mass from the first and second letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. And I said to Father Terence, you wrote loads of letters, didn't you? He went, no, but it was the way I said it, and Father Terence just absolutely burst out laughing, didn't he?
Yeah.
So we thought off the back of that we had to have a reading from St. Paul.
And it's a lovely reason. It's very wedding appropriate, isn't it? Which is probably why it's a popular one and why it was in that movie.
Yeah, I think it is. But loads of people must use this for the wedding, mustn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
It begins, or the main part that you read begins, love is patient, love is kind. So most of you will know what that one is.
Yeah.
I don't mind saying that because it's not like I can spoil it because this isn't going to come out to the wedding day.
I was literally just thinking that unless somebody is listening to this literally at 9 a.m, they're going to run down. I know what they're. I mean, to be fair, it's in the order of service anyway, isn't it? So once again,
it's not a surprise.
Yeah,
we're not gatekeeping the readings.
Yeah, it's fine. So that's that. No, so I had to laugh at that. How did we get sidetracked? Oh, because you said I said obviously, didn't you? Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, whenever you're listening to this, we may be in the process of maybe getting married, maybe at the party afterwards. Oh, you don't call it a party, do you? You call it
it's a reception.
A reception.
But it is a party.
Yeah, it is a party, isn't it?
It's okay. You can call it a party.
You can call it a party. I think people are going to be in a party mood, aren't they?
Oh yeah, when the sax player gets going.
Yeah. And we've got playing the sax and DJing. Are we? Should we say his name?
Well, it's his name.
It's his name. We got Michael Jackson.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Michael Jackson.
Well, he is a Michael Jackson.
Yeah, he is the Michael Jackson.
He is the Michael Jackson, yeah. Yeah, but no, we've seen his work. He's brilliant. So we're looking forward to having Michael Jackson on the day, aren't we?
I think because we talked about this on last week's episode, didn't we? Everything is done now, so we're just really in wedding mode, aren't we? So every time the wedding comes up, we're getting like super giddy, which is why we're getting
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
And Michael Jackson. People are probably watching this going, "It's not that funny," but it's just like
I think it kind
giddy,
of is,
like pre-marital mode, aren't we? So.
And I think the reason that we're proper into the mode now is because we've had so much going on, and we mentioned this last week. We're nut jobs who did 3 massive events in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So we've checked off the Autumn Cup, done. Checked off the Northern Pupillage Fair, done. So now for the next, well, as you listen to this, it's done. But as we speak, we're sort of 10, 11 days out from the wedding. That's all we can focus on, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, not all, but at least we can think about that. We're not worrying about bagging bags for a pupillage fair and getting the people there and running a mooting competition and this and that and the other. It's we've done all that now. We can just we're in wedding mode. Yeah.
I mean, it's probably always been the most important thing, or one of the most important things, but now it's the only big thing to focus on. So it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's that. I suppose we need to name this episode as well. I've just realised. We're 6 minutes into the episode and I've not even named it. So anyway, we're into the 80s now. The 80s are slightly better than the 70s for Formula One numbers.
Okay.
But not by much. I think off the top of my head, I think there's only 2 drivers that have had numbers in the 80s. Okay.
Is one of them today?
One of them is next week.
Ah.
So that means that we've had to revert to, what else can we name it after?
Mm-hmm.
So we've gone to, I did a little search and I looked for wrestlers born in 1980. And there's a good one. That's why.
Okay.
If they're just average ones, I'm like, yeah, no, I'll find something better. But this is a pretty big one. Okay. So
I should get it then.
You should get this one.
Okay, let's go.
You should get this one. Okay. Hint number 1, he was born in 1980.
You don't say.
Hint number 2, from St. Louis, Missouri.
No.
Hint number 3, I think behind Ric Flair and John Cena, I think has the most world titles ever. I could be wrong on that one, but I think he's up there. I think he's a 14-time world champion.
Come on, you need some Hayley-friendly clues, please.
He's a Viper, or the Viper.
Okay.
This one you're going to get. His finishing move comes from out of nowhere.
I know exactly.
That was my best Michael Cole impression.
I know exactly who it is. I think I do. This will be embarrassing if I get it wrong.
Okay. Tell me, Hayley, what are the 3 most dangerous letters in professional wrestling?
An RKO.
An RKO.
From out of nowhere.
So who is it, Hayley?
Is it Randy Orton?
It is Randy Orton. So yeah, we could talk about Randy for ages, but he's up there. He's a legend. He's he's a top guy.
Yeah.
We've seen him live, haven't we?
Have we? Was he there that day?
Yeah, we went. So we went to see wrestling in the Echo Arena last year, didn't we? Or whatever it's called these days.
Mm-hmm.
What's it called these days?
The M&S?
M&S Bank. Yeah. It's just always going to be the Echo Arena, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we went to see it, and Randy was there, and he went to town, RKO and everyone, and standing up on stage doing his whole thing. I'm trying to see if my arms would stay in the screen, not quite. But yeah, so welcome to episode 80, the Randy Orton special.
Welcome.
So we've talked nonsense for best part of 10 minutes now about weddings and Randy Orton.
Some law content.
Let's get on to some law. People have come here for the law. We got trolled about this a while ago, didn't we, for talking rubbish.
I think a lot of people enjoy our rambles.
People love it, don't they? People come and listen. It was funny, wasn't it? We're still rambling on now. We'll get onto the law, don't worry. But the number of people that came up to us at the pupillage fair and said, "Oh my God, we listen to the podcast, we love it." And it's interesting, isn't it? Because we put this out there and you don't know if it's just going into a vacuum of people listening, and we were getting so much great feedback. So for those who listen to the podcast and met us, thank you very much for the feedback. It's always brilliant to listen to, or to speak to fans, speak to people who enjoy what we're doing, and it means a lot that people are enjoying what we're putting out there. So thank you very much.
I was saying to you, wasn't I, John, it's crazy because obviously we record these podcasts and we put them out there, but you don't ever actually think about people sitting and watching them. Like, you see the views and you see the numbers, but it never equates to, people are actually watching us.
Yeah.
So when we got to the pupillage fair, as John said, so many people were like, it's so weird seeing you in person because I'm used to watching you on the podcast, and it's like, gosh, yeah, people are listening to us and watching us. It's sometimes you just feel like it's just you and I talking.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it?
Which is good, I guess. I guess that's why
Yeah.
we have so much banter and why we ramble on for as long as we do.
Anyway, the rambling's coming to an end now. We're going to move into something substantive.
Okay.
So I think you said you saw an interesting, was it a headline from The Guardian or an article in The Guardian?
The Guardian, yes. So I'm just going to read the headline.
Yeah.
Crown Court backlog in England and Wales hits new record of almost 80,000 cases.
Wow. That is crazy. And that's just the Crown Court.
Yes.
So
just a little bit more, just after the headline, what do you call that? The teaser for the article, I guess.
Go on, let's see what the teaser is.
Ministry of Justice data shows a 10% increase in open cases as waiting times for trial dates reach up to 4 years.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That is crazy.
That's mental. So for those who don't know, there's a massive backlog in the Crown Court at this moment in time. So what that means is that people are waiting a long time for their cases to come to trial.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if you've got a defendant that's on remand, you have what's called a custody time limit. So that means that the trial has to take place. So from when you get to your, first appearance in court, when you're first remanded, the trial has to take place in the Crown Court within that term period. So you're talking sort of 6 months for those to go to trial. So remand cases, obviously they take priority. They have to be go to trial within that time period. But bail cases, the custody time limit does not apply. And that means that cases are there's so many, as you've heard, 80,000 in the backlog. And it's taken so long for them to actually get to trial. And the problem is, it means that by the time these cases come to trial, obviously, witnesses' memories can be affected because, they're dealing with something that, as you've heard, a 4-year backlog, something that happened 4 years ago. It's impacting their memory. It's not fair on complainants.
No.
It's not fair on other witnesses. And also,
it's not fair on the defendant.
It's not fair on the defendant because, if you're going to trial, you're protesting your innocence. You want your day in court, and the longer it goes on, the longer it hangs over your head. So it's just not fair on anyone within the system. And what we're seeing as well is, so that obviously talks about, cases whereby, you go to your PTPH, you get your trial date, and I've heard many, many stories about this where people are getting trial dates in 2029. And people have said London. It could be other areas as well.
Yeah.
That's assuming it's the first listing. That could be, say, if it's a second listing for trial, so it could actually be even longer than a 4-year backlog before you get to trial. And I had a case recently, and it was it was quite a historic case anyway. So I think it's 2022 is when the alleged incident took place, and we were due to go to trial this summer. And we were brought back to court. Court put it in for a PTR. Sorry, there are other cases in the list. We can't hear yours at this moment in time. So we relisted for 2027. So by the time that case comes to court, the incident is going to be 5 years old.
Yeah.
My clients will have had this hanging over their head for 5 years by the time we get to trial. And, obviously, Brian Levison has just, conducted an inquiry into this, and he'd made some suggestions. There's been a lot of commentary out there. A lot of people are not particularly happy with some of the suggestions.
A lot of negative commentary around, isn't it?
Yeah.
Primarily, I think it was, what was the main things was about letting trials be decided by magistrates more than juries, some certain criminal offences, wasn't it?
Yeah.
People weren't happy with that as well.
So it was looking at offences where, particularly it was a while ago when I read the report and when it came out, but, certain offences where the custodial sentence would be less than 3 years. You can have a sort of Crown Court bench effectively, so you'd have, judges and magistrates that sit on these trials. So it was limiting an individual's access to a jury trial.
Yeah.
Because at this moment in time, if you've got an either way offence, it's your right to elect a jury trial on that. So a lot of people are saying, well, that's not right. It's always been the way that, if it's a certain offence, you've got that right to a jury trial, and people were not happy that right, potentially could have been taken away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to give my opinion one way or the other on that. But I did see something interesting, that it was the system just needs money.
Yeah.
That's effectively what it is. You know, you need more Crown Court sitting days. You need more staff that can deal with various aspects of the process, and that is, you know, one of the key ways that this can be dealt with. But you know, with a backlog of 80,000 and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere, there does need to be something that's changed at some point so they can deal with that backlog.
Yeah. I mean, what's the alternative? That can't go on. It's only going to get worse and worse.
Yeah, it is. And you know, but and what's interesting is what we're seeing is in different areas of the country. You know,
Yeah, don't you always say Liverpool is one of the best?
Liverpool's really good. So you're getting at this moment in time, you know, bail trials are within 12 months, you know, which isn't too bad. So Liverpool seems to be really on top of things. What the difference is there, I don't know, but you know, Liverpool seems to be on top, and that's why you're getting your trials relatively.
I mean, yeah,
quickly.
12 months is still a long time, but you would take that over 4 years.
Absolutely. But what's interesting as well is it's not just the Crown Court that's affected. You're seeing it in the Magistrates Court as well. So, you know, some areas, you know, you'll go to you know, a first appearance in the Magistrates Court and you'll get your trial within 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever. I was in a particular area recently, once again, with a client, and it was a case management hearing, so it had already been in for a first appearance previously. So this case has been going on for a couple of months anyway, and the trial was listed 18 months thereafter. So even in the magistrates' court in certain areas, there's a bit of a backlog as well. So yeah, they need to someone needs to put the thinking cap on for this and figure out what the answer is.
Poor Brian Leveson just spent an awful lot of time doing just that, and nobody liked the solutions he came up with. Poor guy.
Poor guy.
People need to do something about this, and he's like, I did. I wrote you a whole report. Poor Brian. We laugh. I know it is a really serious thing, but
yeah, it's serious. You know, we're not belittling it. It's just
no.
You know,
we like to make jokes.
Yeah, as you can see, you know, we spent 10 minutes joking about our wedding at the start. So that's the backlog in the Crown Court.
Yeah. Watch this space. I'm sure there'll be plenty of commentary on that. Well, there already has been over the coming months, but I'm sure there'll be more. So
there will be more. Absolutely.
Let's see what happens there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we thought was, we've had loads of questions recently, so we thought we'll do a bit of an Ask Speed Squad special. And as we've mentioned, you know, we're pre-recording or batch recording a few episodes all in one go. So we've just recorded the last episode. We're recording this one. We're going to be recording the next one in a few, after this one. So this is going to be a bit of a two-parter in terms of the Ask Speed Squad special.
Yep. It's what happens when you go to a pupillage fair and talk to hundreds of people in a day and say, you can send us questions in and we'll answer them on our podcast.
Yeah.
People send in a lot of questions.
They certainly do. And we're probably opening ourselves up here, but if you've got any further questions, feel free to send them in.
Yep, you can comment on this podcast. You can email us info@speedmooting.com. We're on all of the socials as well, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, X, wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching. Drop us a comment and we will answer your question, no matter what it is. Nothing's off limits.
Nothing is off limits at all.
On that note,
Hayley, let's jump in. What's the first question?
Let's go. Oh, this is a nice one.
Go on, let's hear this one.
What is your favourite part of being a lawyer?
Okay, that's a good one. I can think of an answer for that one. Do you want to jump in and start, Hayley? Or
I know what yours is going to be.
Go on.
Advocacy.
How did you guess?
It's not like you set up an entire world centred on advocacy and teaching others advocacy, and, you know, the hints are there that it's something you enjoy.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I suppose when you think about it, because it was right in the heart of, you know, COVID and everything, and working for the CPS, doing no advocacy, so I thought, you know what? Let's set up a club all about advocacy. But yeah, I think that's been my approach to everything in life, hasn't it? You know, when something doesn't, you know, there's no opportunities, make them.
Yeah.
So so I you know, finished the bar course, noticed there were very few opportunities for advocacy, joined Liverpool Speakers Club, and then I thought, what would I have wanted when I was in that position? Let's set up the advocacy club. Yeah. Let's set up cool advocacy competitions. So yeah, advocacy is what I love. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the part of the job I thoroughly enjoy. And as a criminal barrister, you are in court every single day. So, you know, when you compare it to other areas at the bar, can be, there can be more of a focus on written advocacy, on advice, on conferencing, things like that. And you might find that in other areas, you might have fewer trials. In crime, it's you're in court every single day, and that's really what I enjoy. And the nice thing is it's different types of advocacy all the time. So you might have a day where you're in the Crown Court bouncing between PTPHs, sentences, committals, etc. And then other times you're at trial. Even when you're at trial, you're squeezing in other hearings, beforehand at lunchtime, whatever. So that's what I enjoy. And then when you break it down into, well, what specific part of advocacy do I enjoy the most? I think in second place, and only just in second place, I would say, is cross-examination. When you prepare a cross-examination well, and you really you get the point across, there's nothing like that. And also when you think on your feet, particularly when you get an answer that you're not expecting, and it leads you down a completely separate path, and you make really good ground, you get a lot of mileage out of that. There's nothing like it. Cross-examination is really, it's really fun. It's the battlefield in a trial, if I put it that way, and I thoroughly enjoy that. But it's closely pipped by the closing speech as my favourite piece of advocacy, and particularly a closing speech in the Crown Court when you've got a jury.
Yeah.
Because, this is your chance to piece all of the case together, and that's your one opportunity. Well, obviously there's multiple opportunities in the case, but your key opportunity to really be persuasive and have the jury find in your favour, whether that's if you're prosecuting a conviction or if you're defending an acquittal. So, there's nothing like the buzz you get from a closing speech, and that's why it's my favourite piece of advocacy.
Oh, that was a nice answer.
Yeah.
This video is brought to you by Speed Mooting. We are an organisation that help aspiring and junior lawyers. We run online and in-person advocacy and mooting competitions. We do online advocacy and public speaking training, and we run lots of other events to assist people on their legal journey. To learn more, visit our website, speedmooting.com.
So for me, obviously it's a little bit different. I'll talk about when I was in private practice first and then now. And I guess the answers are quite all linked when I think about it. But from when I was in private practice as a property litigator, the favourite part about being a lawyer for me was when you got a good outcome. And when you got a good outcome that your client saw as a good outcome as well. Because naturally when you work in litigation, pretty much every case you're dealing with is a battle in some form or other.
Yeah.
So a good outcome for me as a lawyer could be, really early settlements. Like, that's a great outcome. We haven't, racked up thousands and thousands of costs for this client that they can't recover, going all the way to trial. Even if we win, we've lost on cost and this and this.
Yeah.
So a good outcome usually was really early settlement, or if it was a neighbour dispute, we got them on the same path and we resolved things really early. But sometimes you think that's a great outcome, but the client doesn't see it that way. I wanted my day in court. I wanted to make this beep suffer,
Yeah.
So when you have a good outcome, but your client is on the same page as you and they see that it's a good outcome as well, so they're really pleased. That for me was one of my favourite parts.
Yeah.
Back in private practice. Now, life is a little bit different for me because obviously I'm full-time with Speed Mooting, so our in-house legal counsel, as it were. But it's very similar. My favourite part of the job now is when something comes together. So it could be a speed mooting event, it could be like an advocacy club bundle that we've worked really hard for, it could be a really great sponsorship agreement, but just when we've been working really hard behind the scenes to make something happen, when it happens and it happens well, like the Northern Pupillage Fair that happened a few weeks ago now when you're watching this, when all the plans come together and you have a really great outcome, that's my favourite part of being a lawyer.
Good answer, Hayley.
Thank you, John.
Any more questions?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. What are some common mistakes made in applications and interviews for training contracts and pupillage?
Okay, all right. So, I suppose we can just, throw some examples out there. So I think When it comes to applications, and this is something I learned the hard way, is not selling yourself well enough and being too modest in your application. Because you think about it, particularly if you're applying for pupillage, most pupillages get hundreds of applications for sometimes a single post or maybe 2 pupillages. So, you're up against a lot of competition just to even get through the first paper sift and get an interview. So you've really got to shine on that paper. You need to jump out of that piece of paper for whoever's reading it and they say, do you know what, I want to interview this person. You think about it, particularly in chambers, somebody will be volunteering to be on the pupillage committee to read those applications, and they'll have a stack like that and they've just got to fly through them. So you need something that's going to make you stand out, and being modest is the easiest way to just sort of blend into the pack. And that's definitely what I used to do as well. And it you can understand why. We're British, quite modest people. And it's not natural to say, I'm brilliant at this because X, Y, and Z. But that's what you've got to do. No one else is selling you for yourself. You've got to sell yourself.
Yeah.
And I remember going to a talk, I must have been at uni or whatever, and listening to someone who'd recently got pupillage. And he said, if you read your application back and you think you're a bit of it's a 4-letter word beginning with a D, he said, you're probably about right. That was his advice. So my key tip there is, do not be modest, really sell yourself, explain why you are the person for the job.
Yeah.
Any pointers, Hayley?
Yep. So sticking with application forms, I'm sure we'll come on to interviews in a moment, but my first piece of advice about common mistakes is the basics. Grammar, spelling, details. If you've spelled a firm wrong, if you've, there's a grammatical error, there's typos, law firms especially, and chambers get thousands of interviews for, every space you're competing with thousands of people.
Yeah.
If there's a typo in there, it's the easiest way to just throw it in the bin. And it could be a great application, but if you haven't shown them you've got that attention to detail, or, proofread that application 5 times, you're going to go in the scrap pile.
Of course.
So get it right. And it's, it's difficult to do, especially, you can read things a million times and not spot a simple typo. That's why we say, get someone else to read it out loud, and then you can usually spot the typos that way. Because I can do this very easily, because particularly when I worked in property, you skim read things, you type very fast, and it's so easy to miss typos. So reading it out loud or asking someone else to read it is a great way to spot the typos.
Yeah. And to a point, I suppose it's disrespectful, isn't it? Because, okay, fine, there's going to be certain elements that'll be copy and paste from some applications. The basics might be, hopefully, when you're applying to a specific firm or chambers, the specifics change.
Yeah.
But, there's going to be elements that are the same, your grades and what have you. And if you're putting the wrong information on there, the wrong chamber's name, the wrong firm name, whatever it might be, it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
It shows that you've not put the time in to really consider that application.
Yeah.
And you can understand why, in that situation, as you say, it's going straight in the bin.
Yeah. It's the easiest way to make a bad first impression.
Of course it is.
So get the basics right.
Yeah. My point for applications as well is, if you're going to say something, back it up with evidence. So, there's going to be questions on there like, why will you make a good barrister? Oh, I'm a brilliant advocate, my written advocacy is strong, I've got good client care skills, I've got attention to detail. Okay, fine, yeah, they're bold statements, but they're bland. Why are you a good advocate? Why is your written advocacy strong? Why have you got, what is there to show that you have good attention to detail? So all of those things, back them up with evidence. And, you don't have to waste loads of words on it. It can be a simple answer. I'm a strong advocate. I won the XYZ mooting competition against this many people. My written advocacy is strong. I drafted a dissertation and got a double first. Whatever it might be. But something just to back every point up and show why you're going to be good. Because as a lawyer, that's what you've got to do.
Yeah.
If you're going to win a trial, you need it backed up with the evidence. If you're going to litigate properly, negotiate well, you need the evidence there to support what you're saying, what you're doing, etc. So it really is just the basics of, don't just make bland statements, don't make bold statements, or do make bold statements, but if you're going to, back them up with evidence.
Yeah. Another one from me, I don't know how common this is. It certainly wasn't common back in our day, but I imagine it is something that's going to become a common mistake, using AI.
Yeah.
ChatGPT is brilliant. It's so clever, but it makes mistakes and it's very generic in the way it speaks. I don't know, speaks probably isn't the right word, but
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. You can spot it. Like, you see, everyone's using it on LinkedIn. I use it sometimes to give us ideas for our social posts, but the language it uses is the same every time.
Yeah.
Whether you are this or this or this, and the
hyphens that are about that big.
Yes, it's so easy to spot. Emojis on every single line.
Yeah.
I can spot them all over LinkedIn, and rest assured, if you're using AI to draft your applications, law firms will get onto it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if soon there'll be, systems in place. Like plagiarism
I
at
was just
university.
thinking that,
Spot this has come from a chatbot, not a real person. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with using AI to help necessarily. If there's a question, what do you think this question's trying to ask me? To help it maybe draft some of your answers, but it has to be your own thoughts and your own words. Yeah. Otherwise, I imagine that's going to get you in the bin very quickly as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, you can spot it a mile off. Like, the number of times, like, we get mass emails from various companies, and you go, "Yeah, it's an AI email." Yeah. So, so there's some tips on written applications.
Yeah. What about the interviews?
So the interview itself, what I would say is, and this piece of advice is difficult, and this is, I think, when I started to do well in interviews, it's take the pressure off yourself. Because, say during my first sift, or maybe my second sift of pupillage applications, or second season rather of pupillage applications, you go in and think, it's so hard. There's statistics are against you. It's very, very difficult. So the fact I've got this interview, this is now or never. I've got to get this. I might not. The reality is, if you've managed to get a pupillage interview, the chances are you'll get another one. If one Chambers has looked at you and thought, you are good enough for us to at least like your application and want to bring you in, another Chambers will.
Yeah.
And so, and as time goes on, you're going to build up more experience. So you've got more things to talk about on future applications. So try and take the pressure off. Now, what I'm not saying is go in with a completely blasé attitude, an attitude where you don't care. That's not what I'm saying. But at least go in with the mindset of, well, if I've got this one, I can get another interview in the future. So just be a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
And once I changed that mindset, I think, it was very late on. I think the second training contract interview I went to after that, I managed to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas beforehand, I was super tense, putting so much pressure on myself, and I was making mistakes. And, we've spoken, I think, at length in previous episodes about some of the silly things I did in interviews. And it's probably because of the amount of pressure I was putting on myself. Yeah. So, number one, my best tip is just take that pressure off yourself.
Yeah. Because if you let the pressure get to you, then you're going to mess up.
Of course you are. It's not a good mindset to be in.
No. And yeah, just leading on from that, John, we're talking about common mistakes. That probably is one of the most common mistakes, when someone is so nervous that they mess up. And it's hard to watch, isn't it? Because I haven't done training contract or pupillage interviews, but I have done general interviews when I worked in compliance. And when someone is so nervous and you can feel the nerves, it's not a nice position to be in for the interviewer. They don't enjoy it either. You want them to do well, and you want to feel their personality. Interviews are never fun, but no. If someone's at ease with themselves and with you, it just makes for a happier interview.
Yeah.
So if you go in and you're absolutely terrified and the interviewer can sense that, then it's an easy way again to get a no.
Of course,
sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think closely related to that, another common mistake would be not listening properly. And again, it's probably very closely connected to the nerves, because your adrenaline's going and you mishear or you miss some instructions. So, for example, in training contract interviews usually are a full day thing, and it's a variety of different exercises. So just going back, thinking of mine at Owen Mitchell, so it was an instruction taking exercise, a group exercise and an interview. So if you mishear the instructions for something and you go into it and do it completely wrong, then obviously you're not going to perform very well. Or in interviews, for example, you mishear the question and you start going on a ramble and it's not even answering the question that you've been asked. Most of the time, your interviewer would probably help you out and say, oh, just pause there. I think you misunderstood. What I meant was, but you're straying down a dangerous path in that scenario. You're probably not going to get it either.
No.
So the advice to combat that is pretty much what you said, John. Try and calm your nerves, try and put it in perspective so you can stay cool in that scenario. But also, there's nothing wrong with, before you jump into something, just clarifying the instructions. So whether that is a team exercise, just ask, can I just check I've understood what we're doing is X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
And that probably would impress them as well, that, you're confident enough to ask again, or you're confident enough to double check. Or again, in an interview, can I just double check what you asked then? Or can you just repeat that question for me? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with doing that. That's better than just going along with what you think it is because you're too nervous.
Exactly. Yeah. I think a little tip from me is, your basic public speaking skills. Make sure they're there. So, when you're asked a question, don't feel the need to rush in. Take a second to have a little think before you answer. Make sure that you are speaking slowly. Keep your voice dynamic as you talk, so you don't have to be talking at a monotone pace and boring the life out of the interviewers, so you can speak in a dynamic way. So using those public speaking skills, and we've got loads and loads of videos on our YouTube channel. I think the same applies in an interview, and it means that you're not going to come across as wooden. You're going to come across as quite dynamic, and I think that that's going to work well. And in terms of public speaking, one of the big things I always talk about, we always talk about, is practice. So there's nothing wrong with having, if you know someone in the law, great, get them to interview you. If you don't worry, because you can probably, no doubt if you searched online, you could probably find typical pupillage questions, or, you could probably guess what most of them are going to be. Why are you coming here to this chambers? Why are you going to make a good pupil? Whatever it might be. And get, a family member, a housemate, whoever it is, to sit down and ask you those questions, and you can sit there and respond. And it's amazing how much you'll pick up just by practicing.
Yeah.
So I had a mate who I did the bar course with, and he got pupillage during the bar course. So he was probably 1 year in or whatever at this point. And I had an interview coming up and said, yeah, come round, interview me. And someone else came round who I knew. Got the two of them to sit there and interview me. And they grilled me. And I did terribly. But it was good because it ironed out a lot of the mistakes. And I have to say, I still didn't necessarily perform great in the interview thereafter. But I performed a lot better than I would have done had I have not practiced.
Yeah.
So, that's why practicing is absolutely crucial. And even if you're not confident enough to have a go in front of someone else, just sit there on your own, look at what the questions might be, and just say the answers out loud.
Yeah.
It just gets you, in the right frame of mind, and it gives you a bit of that muscle memory before you go into the interview itself.
Yeah. Speak to a mirror, record yourself on your phone and watch it back. There's lots of great ways to practice, and you might think something sounds great in your head, and then you listen to it and think, oh, I'm not going to say that. That makes, I'm cringing watching myself back, so I don't want to say that way in an interview. So practice makes perfect.
Certainly does. Any other questions, Hayley?
Let me take a look, John. Ooh, I like this one as well. Good questions this week, guys. Really good.
Go on.
If you weren't a lawyer, what job would you want to do?
Oh, okay. All right. That's an interesting one. Do you want to go first, Hayley?
Sure. So, I've got two answers to it. So, back when I was little, what did you want to be? It wasn't a lawyer at first, obviously, when I was younger. I wanted to be an actress.
Okay.
And I, relatively early on, realised I didn't really have much talent as an actress. So I went to a little drama club and then a little stage school on Saturdays and stuff. And I had a couple of parts in plays, but I was never great. And I like to think, I'm aware enough of if I'm rubbish at something, I'll realise it. So if you would have asked little me, it would have been an actress. If you asked me now, so if the lawyer profession. I woke up and it was gone and I had to do something else. I think I would like to be a writer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I loved reading growing up, and I had a dabble of writing my own books. They were all like copies of Harry Potter because I loved Harry Potter. So I had my own book, and it was called like Starbased or Starbane School of Wizardry or
Nice.
You could see where it was going, what it was based on. But I think I've still got some of the chapters somewhere, you know, because my mum and dad loved it, and I wrote like 25 chapters of this silly book and stuff. But I'd like to think I'd be a bit better now, and it'd be a bit more advanced, and not just something that J.K. Rowling would instantly sue me for. But yeah, I think writer.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I suppose I've got two answers to that. You know, the fantasy one, I suspect would be, you know, a Formula One driver.
Yeah.
You know, it'd have to be, wouldn't it? And I suppose I live that out because I do me racing, don't I? So I do a bit of motor racing.
Who would you race for? Like now, current team?
Oh, that's interesting.
Ferrari's like your all-time favourite.
Yeah,
right?
I think I like Ferrari. Yeah.
But right now, would you go Ferrari?
No. So, I mean, obviously McLaren have got the best car. And the thing is, a McLaren tends to be quite planted. What's interesting is, so the Red Bull, you know, it's very much geared towards the characteristics of Max Verstappen. So he likes a very much a sort of a solid front end. He doesn't mind a bit of play in the back. And I don't mind that as well, to be honest. You know, with karting, the way I set up the car, you know, we do it with a pretty positive front end as well. So maybe, obviously, you know, I'm not a Formula One driver, so, you
It's
know.
just a fantasy, it's fine.
But yeah, I suppose with the characteristics of the car, possibly suits my driving style, actually, with the very much a very much a positive front end there. So maybe a Red Bull, you know, maybe a Red Bull, yeah.
Watch out, Max Verstappen.
I think, yeah, I think the way the McLaren is a little bit too planted. I think, yeah, who knows? But yeah, ultimately, yeah, it would be Ferrari.
Okay, so what's your real answer?
So the real answer would probably be an engineer. So I don't know if I've ever told this story, but when I was applying for university, I was very, very, very close to doing aerospace engineering at Liverpool. And I had to, you know, in the run up to the UCAS applications, I was constantly to and fro between the law application and between the aerospace engineering application. And ultimately I chose law. And I think part of the reason for that was because, you know, it was 2008, I was going to university, you know, the economy was not looking great. And I thought law's a lot more stable. And literally when we had our first lecturing, or one of the first lectures during Freshers Week, one of the first things that was said to us is, you know, regardless of what the economy's doing, lawyers always seem to land on their feet. There's always some form of litigation going on.
You always need lawyers. Yeah.
So I think that, you know, from that point of view, it was the right thing to study at that time. But I suppose in another world, potentially an engineer. And the program I was going to go for was an MEng, Masters of Engineering in aerospace with pilot studies. So potentially maybe as a pilot. But yeah, but who knows? But yeah, I think I made a good choice with my selection of degree.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And maybe I will write a book one day. Maybe will co-author a
Imagine
book
that.
for Speed Mooting. You never know.
You never know. You never know.
Watch this space.
Yeah. So I think that brings us about towards the end of the episode. We've covered a lot of ground there,
We
Hayley.
certainly have.
So I've certainly enjoyed recording this one. Hayley, have you enjoyed recording it?
I've enjoyed recording it, John.
And if you are still listening at this point, drop us a comment below. Starburst.
My mum and dad are gonna love that one. I'll have to call them and tell them.
Makes me laugh. You know, Cody Rhodes had a character before he left that was called Stardust, so it's very similar to that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Full circle.
So yeah, full circle.
Back
But yeah,
to
no.
WWE.
That brings us to the end, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.